The night was quiet, almost too quiet, like the air itself was holding its breath. The world had gone to sleep as usual, but something far above Earth had already changed. At first, it was just a strange glow at the edge of the horizon. The stars began to blur, their light bending in a way no one had ever seen. Then slowly, like a curtain sliding across the sky, everything turned an eerie shade of blue. It wasn't the soft blue of the morning. It was cold, unnatural, and alive. In cities, people stepped out of their homes and pointed at the sky. In villages, children whispered as they saw the stars disappear one by one. And in the command centers hidden beneath mountains, red alarms began to flash. No one knew what this blue sky meant, but everyone felt it. Something was coming, something massive. Deep in the Atlantic, underwater satellites picked up vibrations that didn't belong to the ocean. In orbit, human defense platforms started detecting distortions in the upper atmosphere. It wasn't a storm. It wasn't a meteor. It was something else. A ripple moved across the clouds like a silent wave, and every radio frequency across the world went dead for exactly 3 seconds. It was just 3 seconds, but for the people who understood signals, that silence was louder than an explosion. The sky wasn't just turning blue. It was being covered. Inside a control room in the northern hemisphere, tired eyes stared at the giant screen. A shape, faint and blurry, hovered above the planet. It was so big that the system couldn't even calculate its size. It wasn't one ship. It was thousands, merged together like a single wall of steel and light. They weren't moving fast. They didn't have to. Their presence alone was enough to freeze the world. The blue light wasn't just light. It was a shield, a cage, or maybe a message. Humanity had spent decades looking at the stars, hoping to find someone. Now someone had found them first. Across the world, soldiers ran to their stations. Fighter jets waited on silent runways. Submarines rose through black waves. In the shadows, silent fleets that were never shown to the public began to stir. For years, humanity had prepared for this day, not because they wanted it, but because they feared it. But even then, no one imagined it would begin like this. No words, no contact, just the sky turning blue. In a small coastal town, a woman stood at the edge of the shore. She saw the water moving backward, as if the ocean itself was afraid. A strange wind rolled over the sand, carrying no sound, only pressure. Birds didn't sing. Dogs didn't bark. The world seemed to pause. Then from behind the clouds, the first edge of something metallic appeared. It wasn't shaped like anything built by humans. Its lines were smooth but terrifying, as if the sky itself had been carved open. People fell to their knees, not in worship, but in shock. News networks tried to broadcast, but signals cracked. Reporters stood on rooftops pointing at the glowing sky, their voices trembling. Governments made emergency calls, but the channels were already being jammed. Whatever was up there had control. In space, defense satellites aimed their weapons, but their targeting systems failed before they could even lock on. Humanity was staring at something far more advanced than anything they had ever faced. But behind the fear, there was something else. Something quiet, buried deep beneath the surface. A plan, hidden bunkers lit up. A network that wasn't on any map came alive. A voice whispered through encrypted channels, a voice meant only for a few. "It's here," the voice said. "Activate everything." At the same time, in a distant orbit, black ships hidden inside dark zones shifted. They were human ships, unknown to the world, built not for exploration, but for the last line of defense. Their hulls were silent, invisible to radar, sleeping like wolves waiting for the night. When the sky turned blue, they opened their eyes. The world didn't scream. It held its breath. Children pressed their faces to windows. Soldiers waited for a command. Leaders stared at screens they didn't understand. And somewhere high above the clouds, the alien fleet moved closer. Their formation was perfect. Their silence louder than thunder. For the first time in history, Earth wasn't looking at the stars with hope. It was looking at them with fear. Yet in that fear, deep inside the human heart, something else sparked. Not surrender, not panic, a quiet fire. The kind that doesn't shout, the kind that waits for the right moment to strike back. The blue sky wasn't just the beginning of invasion. It was the signal that humanity's silence had ended. The sky stretched wide and endless, glowing brighter, wrapping the planet in an unfamiliar light. But the humans standing beneath it did not run. They stood still, watching, breathing, waiting. And as the shadows of alien ships grew larger, one thing became clear. Whatever was coming had no idea what kind of world it was about to face. The blue sky glowed brighter as the massive shapes above the clouds began to move. Their edges were smooth like blades, their light bending the air itself. For a moment the world froze in silence. Then everything started happening at once. Sirens howled across cities. Radios came back online with broken static and encrypted military channels filled with urgent voices. Humanity had seen war before, but nothing like this. The enemy didn't send a message. They simply hovered in the sky, watching, as if testing how humans would react. But Earth wasn't as defenseless as they believed. Deep under the deserts, bunkers that didn't exist on any map lit up. Hidden satellites adjusted their orbit, waiting for the signal. For years, humanity had whispered about the day the sky would change color. That day was now. And the people who had waited for it were already moving. Fighter jets powered up on silent runways, submarines dove deeper, and black ships hidden beyond the horizon prepared to rise. No speeches were given. No orders were shouted. This wasn't panic. It was precision. In a mountain command room, a general stared at the glowing screen. The alien formation stretched across the entire northern sky. They were organized, perfect, almost arrogant. For them, conquering planets was easy. They had crushed worlds before, without firing a single shot. But Earth was not like those worlds. Earth had bled through wars, built itself from ashes, and learned to survive even when it had nothing left. For the first time, the aliens would face something they didn't expect: resistance. In a small street below, ordinary people gathered on rooftops, their faces turned to the glowing blue. Some were afraid. Some whispered prayers, but some just stared with a quiet, strange calm. Something inside them understood that running wouldn't save them. This was the kind of moment where the world either breaks or stands. The alien ships began to shift formation. Their underbellies opened with slow, steady precision. Light beams scanned the cities below like hunters searching for prey. A low hum rolled through the air, not loud but heavy. Windows shook. Birds fell silent. For a second, it felt like gravity itself was bending. People covered their ears even though there was no sound. The aliens were showing their power without firing a single shot. And then, far below the surface of the ocean, something answered. A deep rumble rolled through the water like the heartbeat of the earth itself. From the shadows beneath the waves, human warships began to rise. Not the ones shown in the media, not the public fleets. These were the ones no one knew existed. Black steel, no markings, no names. They carried no flags. They were built for one purpose: to defend humanity when nothing else could. In orbit, the alien ships didn't react. They didn't see the submarines. They didn't detect the satellites aligning. Their scanners searched for what they expected: weakness. But humanity had learned to hide its strength where no one could see it. In an underground chamber, an old man with a calm voice spoke into a single microphone. His message wasn't broadcast to the world. It went only to those who had been waiting. "This is it," he said. "Phase 1. And with those 2 words, 1,000 hidden systems came alive. Energy lines pulsed across the ocean floor. Power grids switched to silent mode. Entire cities went dark on purpose, hiding their signatures from alien scanners. High above, the enemy saw what they believed was a frightened planet retreating into silence. What they didn't know was that the silence was a weapon. One of the alien ships descended lower, its shadow falling over a coastal base. Its lights grew brighter, turning the night into day. The air felt heavier with every second. But before it could reach the ground, the ocean split. A black warship rose like a ghost, water pouring down its sides, its cannons already locked on target. No human voice shouted. No warning was given. Humanity's first stand had begun. The blue sky watched as the 2 sides faced each other. One came from the stars with pride. The other had crawled through fire to survive. The aliens thought this would be an easy conquest. But the moment the first Terran weapon powered up, the sky itself seemed to shiver. This wasn't fear. It was the sound of a storm building. The first stand had begun, not with speeches, not with surrender, but with silent defiance. Humanity didn't kneel, they rose. And the blue sky above, which once seemed to belong to the enemy, was now the stage for something far greater, a war they never saw coming. The alien fleet hovered silently, their ships like dark blades cutting through the blue sky. Across the world, every broadcast signal crackled, every screen flickered, and then, without warning, a single image appeared everywhere. It wasn't from the aliens. It was from Earth, a black screen, a white signal, and a voice, calm. Cold, steady. We are not afraid. Those 4 words echoed through the airwaves like thunder in the quiet. The aliens didn't reply. They didn't expect one human voice to shake the galaxy, but it did. In star systems far beyond Earth, leaders froze their transmissions. Observers whispered to each other. No one had ever spoken to that fleet like this. Not with fear, not with pleading, but with strength. Inside the largest alien command ship, figures with sharp, glass-like skin watched the broadcast. To them, humans were just another primitive race. They had crushed stronger civilizations with no resistance. Yet something about the way that voice spoke made the air feel heavier. It wasn't the words alone. It was the silence behind them, the kind that only comes from people who have already decided they will not run. The alien commander dismissed the message with a hiss, but for the first time, its hands trembled. Down on Earth, the signal that carried those 4 words wasn't ordinary. It came from a hidden station buried beneath the polar ice. The people inside that station had been silent for decades, waiting for this exact moment. The broadcast wasn't just a statement, it was a trigger. Encrypted codes flashed across networks that didn't officially exist. A web of sleeping machines opened their eyes. Terran systems long forgotten by the public came alive in the shadows. Across the ocean floor, long metal structures hidden beneath the sand began to hum. In orbit, small black satellites rotated into perfect alignment. A dark signal pulsed through deep space like a heartbeat. The galaxy had watched Earth for centuries, always thinking of it as small, wild, unpredictable. No one outside this planet truly knew what it had become. No one understood what humans build when they stop talking and start preparing. Inside cities, people huddled in their homes, looking at their screens. Some were crying, some were whispering, but something was changing in their faces. That single voice had done what governments and armies couldn't. It made them feel less afraid. A farmer in the fields stopped his work and looked at the glowing sky. A child on a balcony whispered the same words the voice had spoken. "We are not afraid." That sentence traveled like fire. It didn't need translations. It was something everyone could understand. In the alien fleet, signals bounced between their ships. They analyzed the transmission, looking for weakness. They found none. The message didn't carry coordinates, names, or faces. It carried only intent. For the first time in their long history of conquest, they couldn't measure the strength of their enemy. They didn't understand humans, not really. They thought power meant fire and steel, but true power was something else. It was the unshakable will of a world that refused to break. Inside a hidden mountain facility, a woman with tired eyes monitored the alien scans. She had spent years waiting for this day. "They're watching," she whispered. A man beside her nodded. "Good," he said. "Let them." Around the world, similar rooms echoed with similar words. Hidden leaders, soldiers in the shadows, scientists who had built weapons that had never been tested. They all understood this moment was not the battle itself. It was the warning before the storm. Then something unexpected happened. Across alien-controlled systems, distant colonies began to react. Civilizations that had once fallen without resistance saw Earth stand tall. The people watched the broadcast, and something ancient stirred in them too. The galaxy had grown used to silence, to fear. But now, a single planet had whispered something dangerous: defiance. The alien commander leaned forward, studying the spinning globe of Earth on its holographic display. The humans were quiet, too quiet. It had seen fear many times, and this was not fear. This was a trap. But the commander didn't pull back. Its pride was too great. Its fleet was too large. It believed no one could stand against them. On Earth, hidden under the blue sky, systems continued to unlock. The warning was given. The storm was coming. And while the alien fleet still believed they were the hunters, they didn't realize something important. Humanity had been watching too. Humanity had been waiting. The voice that had spoken didn't repeat itself. It didn't have to. Its echo now lived in the air, in every beating heart, in every quiet corner of the planet. A message not just to the enemy, but to the galaxy itself. If you stand against humanity, you will face everything it has ever become. The warning was over. The real fight was about to begin. The blue sky pulsed like a living thing, glowing brighter with each passing second. The alien fleet hovered in absolute silence, confident in its power. They had crushed entire star systems without lifting a finger. Earth to them was just another name on their long list of conquered worlds. But deep beneath the surface of the oceans, the darkness stirred. For years, humanity had prepared without showing its teeth. And now, without warning, the storm finally moved. In the cold depths of the Atlantic, hidden doors of steel opened like the jaws of a beast. Giant black warships rose from the shadows of the ocean floor. Their surfaces reflected no light, their engines made no sound. They were designed to vanish, to live in the quiet places of the world where no eye could find them. One by one they emerged, their massive hulls cutting through the waves, as if the sea itself was making way for them. At the same time, in the skies above the poles, something invisible flickered into existence. Human orbital fleets once hidden in silent drift behind the dark side of the moon powered up. Lights blinked to life on black hulls. Railguns hummed with a low, dangerous tone. They had been waiting for years in orbit, unmoving, watching. Now their time had come. The alien ships remained motionless. They didn't see the Terran ships rise. Their scanners looked for what they expected: visible weapons, crude technology, desperate signals. But humanity had learned how to disappear. For decades, the world had watched the stars, pretending to be small. But being small was a shield. Being silent was a weapon. In a coastal city, ordinary people saw the ocean split. A single human warship broke the surface, like a shadow come to life. No name, no flag, just a dark shape against the glowing sky. Those who saw it felt something strange in their chest. Not fear, but a quiet surge of strength. For the first time that night, they knew Earth was not helpless. Inside the alien command ship, the sensors finally blinked red. For the first time since entering Earth's orbit, their scanners detected something they couldn't identify. Fast, silent, and moving with purpose. Alarms rang through their decks. The commander barked orders, but the humans were already moving. Without sending a warning, without a single word, the first Terran warship fired. A spear of blue-white energy shot through the air and struck an alien cruiser before it could even react. The alien ship, designed to conquer entire fleets, folded like glass. It broke apart in silence, falling through the blue curtain like burning metal rain. Billions of people on Earth saw it with their own eyes. The hunters had been hit first. Panic rippled through the alien ranks. Their fleet shifted, breaking its perfect formation. The humans had chosen their moment with precision. Submarines in the deep launched rail torpedoes. Orbital cannons hidden in the dark opened fire. Jets streaked across the night sky like black arrows. Humanity didn't roar. Humanity struck like a knife in the dark. In underground command rooms, calm voices directed the storm. No shouting, no chaos. Every move had been planned years ago. They knew the alien ships would arrive. They had built their strength in silence, knowing the day would come when they couldn't talk their way out of the sky. And when that day arrived, they didn't hesitate. The alien commander roared as 3 more ships vanished in bursts of light. They had never seen a world fight like this. Weak civilizations beg for mercy. Strong ones throw everything at once. But humanity was different. Humanity waited, watched, and then struck where it hurt the most. In the streets, people cheered as the alien sky bled sparks of fire. They had spent the night frozen under the blue light, thinking they were prey. But now they saw something else. They saw the power hidden beneath their own oceans, their own ground, their own silence. Above the clouds, the alien fleet scrambled to reorganize. They still outnumbered humanity. Their ships were larger, older, forged in war. But numbers mean nothing when you don't understand your enemy. And they didn't understand Earth at all. As another alien cruiser fell from the sky like a burning comet, the blue curtain flickered for the first time. It wasn't perfect anymore. It trembled under the weight of something it had never faced: resistance. Humanity didn't beg. Humanity didn't run. Humanity hit back. The storm had been unleashed. The night sky was no longer silent. It was a battlefield. And for the first time in the history of this galaxy, the invincible fleet felt something it had never known before: fear. The blue sky above Earth pulsed and cracked like thin ice under pressure. The alien shield that once looked unbreakable now shimmered with faint fractures. What the galaxy thought would be a clean, silent conquest was turning into something else, something they didn't understand. Humanity had waited too long for this day, and now the truth they had hidden for decades was rising from the shadows. As another alien cruiser fell like a burning meteor through the night, something shifted in the air. The blue curtain covering the sky trembled, then split down the middle with a deep echoing sound that shook the ground beneath millions of feet. What was behind the curtain wasn't more alien ships. It was something far more terrifying for them. It was the gate. Above the clouds, a giant wormhole swirled open like a storm in space, its edges glowing white with raw energy. It wasn't built by the aliens. It was human. Hidden at the edges of the solar system, beyond every telescope, a network of black stations had waited for the activation code. And now that code had been spoken. From that glowing storm, the first ships emerged. Not small, not fragile, but massive, dark and silent. Leviathan-class carriers, built in silence over decades, appeared one by one, their hulls the size of cities. They moved with slow precision, casting shadows across the alien fleet like predators stepping into the light. In alien command, panic spread like fire. Their scanners went wild, reading energy levels that should not exist on a primitive world. No one in their long history of conquest had ever prepared for them like this. They expected a cornered animal. What they found was a hidden empire. Down below, people on the ground stared at the wormhole in shock. They thought the blue sky was the end. They didn't know it was just the beginning. Giant warships filled the heavens, blocking the stars but giving something else in return: hope. The light from their engines glowed against the broken blue curtain, painting the world in silver and shadow. In the Atlantic, the black warships that had risen earlier opened their communication arrays. A single pulse raced through the atmosphere and reached the new arrivals. They didn't need to speak. Every ship already knew its role. Every movement had been planned long before the aliens even arrived. Humanity didn't build these ships to threaten. They built them to end any threat that came. The alien commander stared at the growing fleet through the holographic display, its hands tightening on the command rail. Its empire had faced rebellion before. It had faced resistance. But never like this. The humans didn't fight with fear. They didn't scream. They didn't beg. They moved like a blade in the dark. High above, the Terran fleet completed its formation. It wasn't loud. It didn't flash lights or send signals. It simply existed, and its presence crushed the silence. The Leviathan carriers took position, flanked by smaller, faster destroyers and rail platforms. A white pulse of energy spread across their hulls, synchronizing their weapons. The sky itself seemed to hold its breath. The alien fleet tried to reform, their blue light shifting desperately. They believed their numbers gave them power. But they didn't understand what they were facing. This wasn't a desperate army. This was a hidden storm. On the ground, people felt the pressure change. Even without knowing strategy or war, they could feel it in their bones. The balance had shifted. Humanity was no longer standing alone on the surface. Their shadow now stretched across the stars. As the wormhole behind Earth pulsed, more ships emerged. Titan warships, command carriers, silent fleets that no one outside Earth even knew existed. These ships had been built in the darkness beyond the solar rim, where no empire could see them. They were the reason Earth had never begged for protection. The alien commander shouted orders. Their weapons charged. Their blue shield burned brighter, desperate to remind the humans who had the power. But in that moment, something small but unstoppable happened. When Human Destroyer drifted forward alone, it sent no warning, no threat, no sound. It simply fired. A single beam of white energy cut through the alien formation like a blade through paper. One ship fell, then another. Then the shield cracked completely, shattering like glass in the sky. The blue light that had covered the planet broke apart into fading fragments. The world looked up and saw not a prison, not a cage, but their own fleet standing between Earth and the void. The sky no longer belonged to the invaders. It belonged to humanity. The alien fleet was still larger, still deadly. But the moment the blue curtain shattered, they understood something they had never considered. Humanity had never been the prey. Humanity had been waiting for the hunt. And now the sky was theirs. The night sky burned with fractured blue light as the last pieces of the alien shield fell away like broken glass. For the first time since their arrival, the invaders could no longer hide behind their glowing curtain. Their fleet hung exposed, massive and powerful, but no longer untouchable. Across the planet, humans lifted their heads. The silence that once felt heavy with fear now felt like the calm before a storm they owned. Humanity wasn't hiding anymore. It was ready. The alien commander hissed through its sharp, glass-like teeth. Their fleet was larger, their weapons older, stronger, tested on countless broken worlds. They believed this battle would still be theirs. They believed numbers meant victory. But humanity didn't fight the way others did. Humanity didn't wait for orders from kings. It moved like a storm, piece by piece, quiet and lethal. Above the ocean, black Terran warships formed a wall of steel and shadow. High in orbit, the Leviathan carriers aligned into their strike formation, surrounded by smaller destroyers and gunships. Every system, every cannon, every railgun was powered to full. In the control rooms, hidden deep underground, calm voices echoed through secure channels. There was no panic, no fear, just a single command passed quietly between them. No retreat. The alien fleet responded with its full strength. Beams of burning blue light tore through the atmosphere, targeting human cities, military bases, anything they could find. Explosions cracked the air like thunder. But this was Earth, and Earth had built its defenses with teeth. Shields hidden beneath the ground rose like walls of light. Counter-battery weapons roared to life. Missiles and railguns answered the alien fire, turning the night sky into a storm of light and shadow. In orbit, alien ships charged forward in tight formation. They expected to overpower quickly, but as they advanced, the Terran fleet moved like something alive. Instead of breaking, the human formation twisted around them, pulling them deeper, forcing them to fight inside a battlefield humanity had designed. It wasn't strength alone. It was strategy. They weren't fighting to survive. They were fighting to end this. The first wave of human destroyers cut through the alien lines like knives. Their railguns fired silently, each shot hitting with surgical precision. Alien cruisers exploded in bursts of blue flame, their remains scattering like dying stars. Fighters launched from Leviathan-class carriers swarmed the gaps in the formation, striking weak points the aliens didn't even know they had. Down below, cities that once trembled beneath the glowing sky now roared with life. Anti-orbital cannons hidden beneath skyscrapers opened their hatches and fired straight into the heavens. The streets shook as rail shells ripped through the clouds. In the mountains, ground-based plasma launchers shot beams that burned holes through alien hulls. Humanity was no longer defending. Humanity was fighting back. The alien commander tried to regain control, but its fleet was falling apart. They were used to crushing small defenses in seconds. They had never faced an enemy that didn't collapse when the first shots were fired. They had never seen a world that built its power in silence. As the battle raged, one Leviathan-class carrier turned its entire side toward the alien formation. Its weapon banks glowed white-hot. A single pulse cannon fired, sending a wave of pure energy tearing through the heart of the enemy. A dozen alien ships were erased in a single flash. The sky itself seemed to scream. On the ground, people saw the flash and cheered. Fear was gone now. It had been replaced by something fierce and unshakable. The world was no longer looking up at invaders. It was looking at its own strength. The alien fleet fired everything it had, but the Terran defense held. Black warships weaved between alien lines like shadows in a storm, striking and vanishing before the enemy could react. The aliens had numbers, but humanity had patience. Every move was clean. Every shot was chosen. This wasn't chaos. It was the silent fury of a world that had been underestimated too many times. Slowly, the alien formation began to break apart. Ships fled, their clean lines twisting into disorder. Their perfect blue light no longer looked powerful, it looked desperate. The commander stared at its failing fleet and understood something it had never believed before. This was not a weak world. This was not another easy conquest. This was a trap they had walked into. Above the burning clouds, the Terran fleet pressed forward. Humanity was not fighting to survive anymore. It was fighting to make sure no one ever made this mistake again. The invaders thought they were the storm. But tonight, Earth showed them what a real storm looked like. The battle was far from over, but the outcome was already shifting. The galaxy's predators had finally met prey with teeth sharper than their own. The alien fleet broke apart like shards of blue glass drifting across the night sky. Their once perfect formation was gone. Their shields shattered, their ships scattered. The invincible army that had hovered above Earth in silent arrogance now struggled to stay alive. Their commanders barked orders through broken signals, but the chaos had already taken root. Humanity, the species they thought weak, had ripped the fear out of the sky. In orbit, the Terran fleet advanced like a dark tide. Leviathan-class carriers moved slowly, steady as mountains. Destroyers streaked between them, fast and precise. Railguns flashed white in the darkness, each shot like the heartbeat of a planet that refused to bow. In the oceans and cities, ground defenses continued to fire upward, creating a storm of light and steel that no ship could pass through. Earth was no longer defending. Earth was taking back its sky. The alien commander slammed its clawed hand against the control panel. It had never faced anything like this. Its fleet had crushed thousands of worlds, never losing a single battle. But this wasn't another world begging for mercy. This was a world that had prepared in silence, a world that had built weapons no one knew existed, a world that fought like it had nothing left to lose. The alien fleet launched one last, desperate wave. Dozens of ships surged forward in a final attempt to crush the humans before their entire formation collapsed. But the Terran fleet was ready. Their ships didn't retreat. They closed in. Like predators surrounding wounded prey, the black warships struck from every angle. Orbital platforms fired in perfect rhythm. Submarines beneath the oceans launched torpedoes that screamed through the sky. Fighter squadrons rained fire from above. The blue light of the alien weapons filled the heavens, but the white fire of humanity drowned it out. One by one, alien ships exploded into brilliant shards of burning metal. Some fell into the sea, their massive frames vanishing beneath dark waves. Others shattered in orbit, their glowing remains streaking across the night like false stars. On the ground, people stood outside their homes, watching the sky burn. Hours earlier, they had been silent with fear. Now, they were silent with awe. The sky that had been a prison of blue light was now filled with the fire of their own defenders. They saw the Leviathan carriers passing over the horizon, their black hulls glowing faintly in the broken light. For the first time in living memory, the people of Earth felt something stronger than fear: pride. The alien commander gave its final order: retreat. But it was too late. The last ships were surrounded. The Terran fleet moved like a closing fist. No speech was made. No mercy was offered. They struck clean, fast, and final. The last alien flagship tried to turn, but 3 human destroyers locked on and fired simultaneously. A blinding flash filled the sky. When it faded, there was nothing left. The blue curtain was gone. The sky was clear again. The stars returned, shining cold and distant, as if watching history being written. In cities around the world, people cheered. They cried. They held each other. They had not just survived, they had won. In the dark of space, the Terran fleet floated silently. They didn't celebrate. They didn't speak. They simply watched the remains of the alien fleet drift away into nothing. Humanity didn't need to roar to prove its strength. Its silence was enough. Across the galaxy, hidden empires and old powers received the signal. Earth was no longer a silent blue world at the edge of the stars. It was a fortress. It was a warning. The sky itself had turned blue to announce the enemy. Now it stood clear to mark their defeat. The message that had begun with 4 quiet words now echoed far beyond Earth. We are not afraid. And those who once thought of this world as prey finally understood. They had awakened a predator. The sky belonged to humanity now.